What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another video of the Dynasty Dweebs YouTube/podcast channel. Today I'm joined by Matthew Betts from RedShirts Fantasy. Say what's up, Matt.
What's going on, fellas? Thanks for having me on. Super excited to talk some sleepers with you guys tonight.
Yep, you heard it right there. We're going to be talking about some sleepers. So I'm going to kick us right off, get right into it. First sleeper I had was Breshad Perriman. Everyone is going to hate on Breshad Perriman, obviously, because they drafted Denzel Mims and Jamison Crowder, and I'm sure you guys right now are thinking, why would this man pick a piece of shit like Breshad Perriman? Well, I know he was terrible in the Ravens. Didn't do much at all for them. And for Tampa Bay Buccaneers, obviously, he had to compete with Godwin and Evans. And then finally, when they were both out, or it was just Godwin, I believe, he finally stepped up. And I think that it's going to be a year, maybe two, until Denzel Mims is, a full threat on the New York Jets. And I think Breshad Perriman will either assume a possible number one role in front of Jamison Crowder.
I believe that, but I have seen this dude drop a lot of balls that were clearly catchable in the Ravens. Kind of pissed me off a little bit. Had him for a couple fantasy games, but I don't know. The Jets are the Jets, so.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same camp as Zach here. I like the narrative. It makes sense. I'm a Darnold truther, but, man, I don't want Adam Gase's fantasy assets. And, the other thing to consider is the offensive line really struggling. The way Breshad Perriman won last year was down the field, right? Can that line support Sam Darnold and give him time to throw the ball deep? I don't know. He'll have every opportunity to do so as the team's won this season. But, man, it's just so hard to buy into any Jets skill player, including Breshad Perriman.
Yeah, I think that the highest upside I'm looking for here is like a wide receiver 2 in PPR. Obviously, he's probably like a wide receiver 3 right now. I'm not saying it's going to be like a wide receiver 1 by any means, but I think he could support some wide receiver 2 value throughout the season, depending on the matchup. All right, Zach or Matt, you want to give us your guys' sleeper?
Sure, I'll go. My first one is not a real sleeper, but staying with the Jets, I would say Le'Veon Bell, just because this dude he's just got crazy star talent, and I don't see him having 2 shitty years in a row. Even though he is on the Jets and Adam Gase is just, I don't know, it's just an odd situation there. But I still think he'll produce a little bit.
Yeah, it's so weird, right? Like Le'Veon Bell, we know this guy from his days as a Steeler when he was an elite running back in fantasy and for the NFL. And apparently Adam Gase was, mad at the signing last year in free agency, didn't really use him effectively. And he had a ton of volume. And so it's fine, right? Like he's a guy that I think is going to finish like in the RB, like 18 to 24 range. So in that aspect, I do think he's somewhat of a value this season because everyone just has this bad taste in their mouth, right? You and I just said it, like the Jets, man, it just sucks to own their players. It's the Jets, exactly. But he'll have every opportunity in fantasy. Volume matters. Now, I will say, if someone out there is watching or listening and is hoping for like Le'Veon Bell, the running back 1, to come back, that ain't happening. There's no way in this offense. And, just watching those games and kind of looking at the advanced analytics, I mean, 3.2 yards per carry, guys. I don't know. I'm not a Le'Veon Bell guy at this stage of his career. I'm in the camp that those days as a Steeler are probably more of a product of the offense, more of a product of the offensive line. And we talked about it with Sam Darnold having time behind that line. I'm super nervous about Le'Veon Bell this year.
Yeah, I think he'll have a better year than last year. It might not be like drastically better, but like you said, volume does speak a lot to like fantasy owners. And if you want a guy that's going to get like at least 15 touches a game, I think Le'Veon Bell is a safe bet. So I wouldn't write him off. Like people are like saying he's just going to be absolutely terrible. I know they added Frank Gore, but I think that's more of a just another vet in the room for they drafted Perrine, right? That's his last name.
Lamichael Pirine.
Yeah, Pirine. So maybe they just wanted Frank Gore in there and Le'Veon Bell to hopefully maybe he'll be the next guy up. But I think this year Le'Veon Bell can produce still RB2 value, maybe low end, but we'll see.
Yeah. All right, fellas. I'll kick it over with my next one here. This is a quarterback, man, that everyone's sleeping on this year. Is Teddy Bridgewater. And listen, his name doesn't scream upside, so I'm not saying that he's going to be a top 5 option or maybe even top 8, but he's going to be a streaming fantasy quarterback this year more weeks than he's not. And it has a lot to do with the weapons there. I mean, you talk about DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey, Curtis Samuel, Robbie Anderson stretching the field. And the thing that I love about this system is, man, you look at this, and what matters for fantasy for quarterbacks, right, is volume and a bad defense. And this is going to be that in every aspect. Fellas, they literally spent every single draft pick this year on a defensive player. Not one was taken on the offensive side of the ball. And it tells you how bad that defense is going to be when they're going to be playing rookies out there. So considering the defense, considering Joe Brady's up-tempo offense, this is an offense at LSU that ran 72 plays per game last year. If that was an NFL offense, that would have ranked first in the entire league. So I'll take the dude that's going to throw the ball 30 to 35 times a game on a bad defense with a good offense. And the guy that dumps it off to Christian McCaffrey is going to get fantasy points when he takes it 60 yards to the house. So, yeah, I'm in on Teddy Bridgewater as a value in best ball drafts, guys. I just did one today. I got him in the 19th round out of 20 roster spots as my QB2. So no one wants this dude. And if you're playing in a super flex league, like, he's the perfect QB2 if you wait. So I like Teddy Bridgewater a lot this year. I think he'll provide some pretty good value for fantasy players.
Yeah, I definitely can get behind that, because especially something to point out is that they're in a division with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, New Orleans Saints, and the Falcons. It's probably going to be the highest scoring division in the league. So they are going to have to pass the ball a lot and put up points. Like you said, bad defense, they're going to give up points all day, so they're going to have to compete. I mean, the Saints are going to drop 30 plus on them every single time, both times they play them, without a doubt. So
Yep.
I could definitely get behind that. He's going to have QB1 games for sure.
He's on an offense that can score a shit ton of points too. So
yeah, it's
He's
just
in the-
like, I think
that's a
everyone's
environment.
caught with like that stigma. It's like Teddy Bridgewater's a game manager.
yeah,
Like, he's not. He's definitely not. Like, he played really well in the Vikings, and when he had to step up for the Saints, he played really well. I don't think he lost a game. Did he lose one game maybe?
Nope.
didn't-
He went 5-0.
Didn't lose a game. So I mean, he can definitely do it. It's just, I mean, man, it's enough pressure filling Drew Brees' shoes. I think he can handle it himself on the Panthers. Yeah, for sure.
yeah. I can just go into my second because my
Yeah.
second, Curtis Samuel, goes along with it.
There you go. Yeah.
It's a high-powered offense, dude. DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey, Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, they'll be shooting the ball out there.
Yeah, I think people are sleeping on Curtis Samuel just because of, DJ Moore does get the volume, Christian McCaffrey gets the volume, and now they brought in Robbie Anderson. So I think the Robbie Anderson was the most worrisome thing for people.
Yeah.
But there definitely will be enough volume for him as a wide receiver 3 with 2 upside.
Yeah, I like this call a lot, and obviously for the reasons I mentioned with the offense and the system, up tempo, etc. But fellas, in dynasty leagues, like just 2 months ago, everyone was talking about go buy Curtis Samuel, go get this dude, and then now we have Robbie Anderson there. I don't think it hurts him that much. Like, Robbie Anderson's role is very different than Curtis Samuel's,
Right.
who, let's not forget, was a running back in college. So he's still learning the wide receiver position. He can still, the arrow is pointing up on Curtis Samuel, so to speak. And he can be used in those short to intermediate passing options the way Christian McCaffrey is used, the way DJ Moore is used. So he's not just a deep threat. That's Robbie Anderson. And you just talked about it, right, Austin, with the stigma out there about Teddy Bridgewater is that he's more of a game manager. He's going to check the ball down. Well, if he does, it's not going to Robbie Anderson. It's going to Curtis Samuel, DJ Moore, CMC,
Right.
etc. So I like that call a lot.
Yeah, and not too much worry there at the tight end position yet for taking away carries. I'm not going to worry about Ian Thomas until he actually produces some legit numbers for me consistently.
Yeah.
So my number 2 sleeper was Devin Funchess. 26 years old. He hasn't had that productive a career yet, but put him on the Packers. I'm going to write off Lazard, and I'm going to say Devin Funchess is going to be the number 2 receiver on this team. There's no way it's going to be Allen Lazard for me. I'm going to say Devin Funchess and Devontae Adams are going to rock and roll. I mean, it's Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback. He's going to sling the rock. Maybe that's why they didn't draft a receiver. That's why they thought Devin Funchess could get the job done. They went after him for a reason.
I mean, he was still producing numbers with who's that dude that was the Panthers quarterback last year?
He was hurt last year, right?
Yeah, Funchess. Yeah, he only played in one game, and he was actually signed with the Colts.
Yeah,
and
Colts last
1 year, $10 million, injured, didn't play the rest of the season. So we haven't seen him for a couple of years. And the last time he was on a field was with Carolina.
Yeah,
and I can't. And that was the year Cam had a down year, and he was still producing decent numbers. So he'll have every opportunity, right? Like you said, Austin, the depth chart is not scary by any means. I feel like I've seen enough though from this dude that I'm just out. And there's a reason we're talking about these players, right? It's sleepers. We're not talking about like top 4 round draft picks, right? But I have legit concerns about just the Packers' offense as a whole. Spending a second round pick on AJ Dillon had to be one of the top 3 most egregious picks in the NFL draft. I mean, they're going to try to run the ball, and their mindset, and you just look at all the quotes from LaFleur this offseason, it's all about the committee running back. I mean, got to get someone else in there to support Aaron Jones. Like we got to control the game on the ground. Like, I don't know if they're going to let Aaron Rodgers be Aaron Rodgers. And I think it's really going to affect the pass catchers. But to your point, Devin Funchess, where he has succeeded is in the red zone and as a red zone option. So with Devontae Adams as the only legitimate pass catcher in the red zone, Devin Funchess could easily score 6, 7, 8 touchdowns this year and put up value. So yeah, it's a sneaky call.
If Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback, you can produce as a wide receiver basically. It's just that their offense just has to be able to give Aaron Rodgers a chance to throw the ball.
I mean, don't necessarily say that. I mean, we saw MVS and Allen. We've seen many of those receivers just be absolute duds through this offense. But I mean, Devin Funchess is a little more proven, has a lot more experience in the league. I know he's had a couple injuries, but yeah. I mean, I do also hate they drafted Dillon. I mean, just to take on him real quick, I think they're going to use Dillon in the red zone a lot because of his size. I do wonder.
Yep.
I don't want to get off topic, but I wonder how that will hurt Aaron Jones' value down the road. If they put Dillon in for red zone carries, man, that's going to suck so bad.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
All right, so
fellas.
On our third guy?
I think I'm on my second. So
right, second. Yep.
I'm gonna bring a wide receiver to the table that we joked about it on our podcast, the RedShirts Fantasy Football Podcast. Like, you can just schedule the tweet now for next April and May. Like, Marvin Jones is literally always a value wide receiver every single year. It just doesn't change, and the production far outweighs the draft costs. And you look at the difference between Kenny Golladay, who obviously I think is a better stud wide receiver, but the production says otherwise with these two guys with Matthew Stafford. You look at the games with Stafford last year in 8 games. Here are the numbers for Golladay. 62 targets, 35 receptions, 640 yards, 7 touchdowns. That was good for wide receiver 11 in PPR. Marvin Jones, 57 targets, 42 receptions, so 7 more, 535 yards, and just 1 less touchdown. He was wide receiver 15 in PPR points. At their draft price this year, in redraft leagues, I'm going to go out and I'm going to take Marvin Jones, and I'll just skip on Kenny Golladay because the history says the production is going to be relatively similar. And Matthew Stafford, fellas, he was balling last year, 5,000-yard pace. He would have finished as the quarterback 2 only behind Lamar Jackson had he stayed healthy, and we project that out for a 16-game season. So Marvin Jones, man, it just feels like he's never going to be valued properly no matter what happens, and I will take the value all day.
Yeah, I like that take a lot. But like you said, Stafford got hurt last year. So, I mean, Marvin Jones' numbers could have been even greater than they were. I mean, they're pretty great numbers. And, yeah, that's like you said, I mean, why go out and get Kenny Golladay? Because his ADP is probably pretty crazy right now, especially like in a startup dynasty league. Like, everyone's going to go crazy for Kenny Golladay. But, I mean, Marvin Jones, man, that's a great second receiver, flex tier option on your team to start every single week, I'd say. I mean, Lions have always been slinging the rock. I mean, their run game's been terrible for years, so I definitely like that. And they don't have many options outside of Golladay and Jones. I mean, Hawkinson hasn't shown much yet either.
For sure.
All right, move on to my last one, Damian Williams. So we can go ahead and pump the brakes on CH real quick. All right, so Damian Williams, right? So they gave him a contract after he balled out in the Super Bowl. So he's 28 years old. They're going to run the crap out of him until his contract is over. They're not just going to how the people just think they're going to put the rookie in and he's just going to run he's going to be the starter. And even after 3 games, I don't think he'll be the starter because you don't want to bang the guy up right away. You're going to want to work him into it. I think they're going to run Damian Williams into the ground, and people are sleeping on that.
That's a take I haven't really heard yet. I've heard other folks talk about and I agree with you. Damian Williams is not going to go away. I've heard other people say basically that they're going to do, they're going to have a timeshare 50-50, 60-40, something like that. But, it's a good way of looking at it. Like, I don't think I've heard anyone say they're going to ride him into the ground. So if they do, that's extreme value this year.
Yeah. They might as well run him into the ground if they just gave him his contract after beat him and said he balled out in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he's 28 years old, man. I mean, this is his last time. This is probably his last time on a team outside of being a backup veteran. So you would think that he's going to be the starter for a while, and if he's playing well, they're going to ride the hot hand and work CEH where they can.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's super interesting. I'm really intrigued to see what happens there because most of the time these first-round rookie running backs go into a situation where there's almost no one on the depth chart. And Damian Williams, you said it, he balled out in the Super Bowl. He should have been the MVP. I don't think he goes away this year. And, Austin, even if he's not like a bell cow and he doesn't get run into the ground, he's still going to have value this year as a back end running back 2, at worst, a flex play. And no one wants him. So, yeah, if you're a contending dynasty player, I think he's a great value. You can get him for probably an early third rookie pick this year, you think?
Sure.
And I'll take that value all day.
Yeah, Zach, are you worried that you guys worry about Darwin Thompson at all? Or do you think they're kind of going to fade Darwin Thompson? It'll just be CEH and Damian Williams for the most part this year.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those two are going to work together, and it's going to be primarily just the two of them.
Yeah, but just the last thing before we move on, Andy Reid always utilizes all his weapons to their best of their ability. So if he thinks Damian Williams is a better runner, then better, if he can catch the ball better, whatever he can do better than CH, that's what he's going to have him do. Whatever CH can do better than Damian, that's what he's going to have him do usually. So wait and see. All right. Zach, what's your last guy?
My last sleeper is Christian Kirk. I know they just got DeAndre Hopkins and they still have Larry Fitz, but the dude's kind of getting old as dirt. So, and Christian Kirk was producing numbers last year, so I think he'll be a good little pickup this year.
Yeah, I agree because especially if you're talking about average draft value, D-Hop being on the team is going to bring him down a lot, and I think it's going to be down so much that the round you can get Christian Kirk will be a really good value.
Yeah, I think that's a great call. And, even if we're talking not even in 2020, his best days are going to be in 2021. Larry Fitzgerald, like you said, I mean, it feels like we've been saying he's going to retire for 6 years straight now. But I truly feel like this is finally the end. And, there's no one talking about Christian Kirk because DeAndre Hopkins is there. I'll take Kyler Murray as wide receiver 2 all day.
Oh, yeah.
So, even if this year isn't really the explosive year that we're expecting from him, 2021, the price tag is going to go way up. So I like that as a trade target in Dynasty. Go buy him now before it's too late.
Yeah. I mean, people tend to sleep on the second target on an NFL team, and you never should do that. If the game plan's to cover D-Hop, you got to find someone else on the field, and that's going to usually be Christian Kirk. And he can go deep, man. So, yeah, I agree. Go get him now if you can.
Yeah, for sure. All right, fellas, my last one. This is a sleeper. No one's going to want this dude. It's Chris Thompson, man. And listen, I'm a physical therapist. That's my day job. So you don't have to tell me about his injuries. I am equally as concerned as you all are about his injuries. However, he is literally free in every fantasy football format that exists right now. I just did a couple best ball drafts in the last couple of days. He went undrafted in both. The reason I like Chris Thompson is because of the connection with Jay Gruden. He goes there, Jay Gruden, the new offensive coordinator, Chris Thompson steps right into an offense that's full of playmakers that are unproven at this point, right? Like I like DJ Chark. I'm not sure about D.D. Westbrook at this point. I'm not even sure what Laviska Shenault's going to be in this offense. And there's been several rumors and more negative news than positive news in regards to Leonard Fournette's status with the team. Who knows if he's even on the roster this year? And if he's not, and even if he is, there's no way he's seeing 100 targets this season. I mean, you look at what he did the first 2 years, Leonard Fournette, 48 targets, then the second year, 26, then last year, 100. Bella, something is off there, and I don't think it's the 100 that's the normal for him. So I think there's a huge chunk of the targets that are going to go to Chris Thompson, who hasn't had less than 50 targets since 2015. I'm not saying Chris Thompson's going to be an RB1. I'm not saying he's going to even be an RB2. But in Dynasty, especially deeper formats, you need flex plays and you need running back depth, especially in PPR leagues. So I'll take Chris Thompson, especially, guys, looking at this defense. I mean, what did they have last year? Jalen Ramsey, AJ Boye, Yannick Ngakoue has been very public that he's not going to play with this team. They lost Calais Campbell, Telvin Smith. I mean, this defense is going to be atrocious. They are tanking 100%. And I'll take Chris Thompson for cheap to be a flex play on any given week.
Yeah, that's actually a great pick because, like you said, the defense is terrible. So more often than not, it's going to be 2-minute drill before the 2 minutes. So, and who comes in the 2-minute drill? It's between Chris Thompson and Leonard Fournette. They're going to want the dynamic guy that can run the ball and catch the ball. So, yeah, for sure. And then I guess we don't really have to say anything about it's Raquel Armstead, right? Armstead, his first name
Yep.
Raquel. Yeah.
Yep.
So like, I guess we won't really say anything about him because I'm not sure how good he is as a pass catcher. But obviously, they if you're going to pick up Chris Thompson, you're going to have him play most third downs. I mean, he is one of the best. He's pretty good playing third. As a guy that just plays third downs, he's pretty good at it. So, yeah, like you said, regarding injuries, no injuries, definitely a good flex play. Zach, what do you think? Chris Thompson? Flex play?
The only thing I don't like is that it's the Jaguars.
Right, of course. They are terrible.
Chris Thompson has proven himself as a passing back, so
it was that 1 year, man. He was on fire. Like he was like a top 5 back at one point, I'm pretty sure, like in PPR.
Oh yeah.
That was crazy. That was like 3 years ago?
When was that? Yeah, I remember that because he was like on waiver wire or something, and someone picked him up, but like they would never play him.
Yeah.
He was a grinder. Hopefully he can get back to it. I assume the Jaguars going to be losing a lot of games, so he'll probably see some volume. So,
yep.
You just got to see what he does with it.
All right. I think that about wraps it up for our sleepers for today. Thank you, Matthew, for joining us from RedShirt Fantasy Football. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Please like and subscribe. Peace.